English translation 536th contact Thursday, the 23rd of February 2012, 22:18 hours.
Hello, Florena. Greetings and welcome. Actually, I was expecting Ptaah.
You also be greeted, and thanks for your welcome. Ptaah is unfortunately indispensable. So he asked me to come here, because it is obviously urgent to bring you the answers of our language scholars concerning the translation of various German language terms into English. Ptaah had our linguists answer me directly through our linguists according to these papers here, which I had recorded and sent to Ptaah, who passed them on to our scientists. So, I have to explain that in the English language and in all other earthly languages, there are no suitable terms and words for the terms substance, material, the materiality, the fine material and fine materiality, etc. If these terms refer to the energies, forces and vibrations of consciousness, the spirit as well as the mental block, etc. According to our linguists, what you and Marianne and Willem have created in terms of word values and concepts, such as the fine swinging waves, high fine swinging waves, or high finest swinging waves, etc., expresses exactly and correctly what is basically meant by these terms. However, it is argued that this is not something that unfamiliar and therefore unintelligent people in the humanities can understand in the way that it should basically be expressed. Furthermore, this term here, that is to say, fabric, is wrong in every way and can never be used for stuff, because this word means to make or produce, and has nothing to do with a fabric. Also material, structure, and element are fundamentally wrong and can never be associated with fabric in any way, just as they can never be associated with the fine and ultrafine vibrations, such as those which emerge in the form of energies and forces from material consciousness, the mental block, the pineal gland, and the spirit. The term substance, which you have also instructed me to question, cannot be applied, because a substance is exactly the same as you explained to me this afternoon. As you understood it, and as our scientists confirmed to me that it is a solid matter, a liquid, chemical, or gaseous substance. I also passed on to Ptaah the term fluidum, which you mentioned, and he explained it to the linguists according to your meaning, to which I received the answer that this is probably the only term that could be used for all the terms mentioned. As you have told me, the scientists also explain fluidum as a substance that creates, radiates, and transmits properties and effects, which is why they recommend that you translate substance with fluid when it is the vibration of conscious, spiritual, and mental energies and forces. With regard to other and material substances, for which there are no clear terms in the earthly languages, except in the German and Swiss German and in the Germanic languages of origin, materia or material should be used respectively with the designation of its kind. For the actual fabric which corresponds to a weave, only the term fabric can be used. Only the formulations mentioned can describe the value of the terms. Look here, you can put in writing what I'm about to tell you.
Thanks, Florena. With this, I think we have finally solved our fine and ultrafine translation problem.
It is a great pleasure for me to be able to help you, and I think that it is a heavy burden for you, Marianne and Willem, to translate the goblet of the truth into the English language, because it is not possible to translate the German language into English or other earthly languages in such a way that everything corresponds to the German meaning and word value.
Unfortunately, this is indeed the case, because it is impossible to translate the real word and meaning value, because there are simply far too many words and terms not available in English and also in all other languages. There are also no corresponding synonyms. English is an extremely poor language, just like all other languages that are not German or of German origin, which is why I do not understand why such a primitive language could and should be spread all over the world. Respectively, why one wants to establish this language for small children, as Ptaah called it, as an effective world language.
This is well known to me, and since I too have learned this really inadequate language, I can only agree with what you say. The German language would be the only correct one, which would have to be elevated to a world language, but English would have to be immediately put out of use as such.
This is also according to my meaning and that of our Figu Association. If in 1,000 years' time the still existing language is really to be used as a world language, then it would not have to be English, but German. But the Earthlings are so believers in America and English that they do not recognize the inferiority of the English language and are content with its inadequacy, because they are not able to speak the German language in all its subtleties and pronunciation. And when Ptaah speaks of an infant's language in relation to English, this is certainly justified, for this language is actually spoken in a way that is peculiar to children and non-native speakers who have only a poor command of a language. This is quite apart from the fact that countless terms and words as well as synonyms are missing, which, however, exist in the German language in a comprehensive way, just as they do in your languages, from which German originally originates. Further discussion about this is not necessary.
It would not change the facts of the situation. What I want to tell you now. Last Tuesday, it was very interesting to watch how the flying apparatus lifted the trees out of the forest and transported them away.
Ah, so you were there watching after all? Barbara took some photos, one of which showed something like a disc-shaped object in the upper left corner of the helicopter. Unfortunately, this one was blurred and out of focus, while all the other photos were clear and clean. Is it possible that it could have been your ship? The picture was taken in a southwestern direction, with the sun shining in the clear sky to the left of the helicopter, and to the right of it was the helicopter and the object.
This may be consistent with our observation position. So it is possible that our flying apparatus was included in the photograph because there was a visual channel open from us to the flying apparatus, which you call a helicopter. Although I know these flying apparatuses as helicopters. Why do you call it a helicopter?
Helicopter is the correct German term, and it stands for a vertically launching rotary wing aircraft that is used for short or long distances to transport people and loads, but also for warlike combat operations. There is also the term helicopter, and this is more common in Swiss German than helicopters. See here in the Duden, this term is helicopter in English and helicopter in French, helix and pteron in Greek. But you are wearing such interesting new clothes. Is this the latest fashion?
Thanks for the lecture. No, the clothing does not correspond to a new fashion. It is technical.
No need to thank me. Aha, technically conditioned. Then it must be something I do not know. But now the question about the Earth's population. Did you ask Ptaah about how many of the human beings are currently on Earth?
Yes, you do not know the technology yet, but you will soon know what it is all about. This census was not done by Ptaah, but by Anjana. So I want to call her so she can tell you the number herself.
Does she really have to come here for this? You could just ask her and tell me the result.
I want to do that, but she can answer you directly. Well,
Florena just speaks into the room with Anjana, and the answer comes.
Greetings.
Ah, it is good to hear you. I am very happy to hear you. Your voice sounds just as if you were here in the room. Greetings also to you. Are you here or not?
Thanks. No, I am not in your workroom, but in my flying apparatus. So you want to know the number of the Earth's population at the end of last year. This was exactly 8,199,430,908 billion. 199,430,908 on the 31st of December 2011.
Many thanks. That was it.
Then I will return to my work again and bid you farewell.
Salome, and thanks again. Man, girl, that was something new to me again. The way you just talked your way out into the air, and in the same way Anjana's answer just came out of the room. Don't you need any more equipment for that?
the technique used is not new, but it is not in the form as you know it. We have been using this form of communication for several hundred years, but generally in connection with our activities on other planets only for 22 days, because now the necessary technical requirements are integrated into our clothing. This contains in its material a self-regenerating energy source and serves both as a transmitter and receiver, whereby the conversion of what is to be transmitted and received is constructed in such a way that the human voice, as well as sounds, are directly manifested in the room in a vibrational way, according to which you could perceive Anjana's voice as if she were present here in your working room.
And this is now part of your normal equipment?
Yes, but now I have to ask you on behalf of Ptaah whether Guidu's book, And Still They Fly, will finally be finished and printed by the middle of the year?
Unfortunately, I do not know, but I have to ask Andrea because she has finished this book.
Then please ask for it, because it is very important for various reasons that the book is published by the middle of this year, as Ptaah explained. It is also very important that the photo book is published by the middle of next year at the latest. I should point this out to you again.
Regarding Guidu's book, I have to ask Andrea, as I said. Regarding the photo book, I have to say that this is Piero's work, which I also asked him about, which Ptaah also did recently through the contact conversation. Piero has promised to do the work for the book in time, which I assume he will also do.
If he has promised, I think that will also be the case. But now I must get back to my work.
One more question, please, if that is still possible.
One question, yes.
Do you now know where the name God comes from? Already in the book Psyche, I wrote in 1973/94 that the term comes from a foreign, unknown people, because Askett explained it to me that way.
This could indeed be fathomed, so I can say that the term God goes back to our ancestors, the ancient Lyran peoples, who used the word God to refer to an imaginary being who was portrayed as the supreme supraplanetary, omnipotent, omniscient, and omni-capable creational figure in the imaginative tales they invented. And since we too have fairy tales, it has been known since time immemorial that a supraplanetary imaginary entity called God is also represented in these. The origin of the term God, however, we only found last year. In 2011, when we were given access to very old Lyran fables that had been lost until then, and from which it emerges that the fables were, the fairy tale figure God is attributed to Sirius refugees, who were generally only called the peoples of Kudra in the Nisan system beyond the sun, because they settled on the other side of the galaxy, respectively beyond the galactic center, just beyond the galactic central sun. Parts of these refugees emigrated to the Lyra areas when they were discovered by ancient Lyran explorers.
Interesting. Ptaah already explained to me about 2 years ago that in your fictional stories, which we call fairy tales, the term God is used as an imaginary supreme being. And what you call supraplanetary, that means supernatural for us. Thanks for the explanation.
Then I want to leave now. Goodbye.
Take care, and see you again. Thanks for coming.